Welcome into take two. Yesterday, I released a video of the route that I believe that the kidnappers took Nancy out on, as well as a remote viewing session. And my apologies, the audio was horrible. Sometimes just shit happens. What can I say? I'm so sorry. Wasn't intended to play. It wasn't my intention to work so hard on a video only to have to do it again. But I had a message in a dream last night, and I was given a vision of Nancy. So not only will I redo what I did yesterday, but I'm going to add to it because I also just did another remote viewing session just to confirm what I was telling you yesterday. And wow, wow. 8 a.m. Eastern. And for those of you that are new here, I have had dreams my whole life. With Sebastian Rogers, I was channeling him a lot. With Jack and Lily, I was getting visions, and I hadn't had a vision of Nancy in my dream yet until last night. So, my remote viewing yesterday, I on the session, I told you that I asked to see what happened in Nancy's home, but I didn't ask for a specific situation. I asked for it to be revealed to me what I needed to know that wasn't to the benefit of my ego with respect to what happened in the house with Nancy. And I was taken to a clip or a view, if you will. Like, what happens when you're remote viewing is you get snippets, like a movie scene, just a snippet of information. And so I was taken to inside the home. Ooh, I got goosebumps. My validation. When I had said in a prior video, and if you missed it, you're going to have to go back and watch it. And I know we've got a lot of new people here, so welcome everybody, all the newbies. I'm so happy to have you here. But you're going to have to go back and watch all my other videos if you want to know my theory and how I piece together visions, remote viewing, etc. I've got all the clairs together to build my theory of what went down in this case. And I've been doing that since the case, became public knowledge 90 days ago. So it's a lot to explain in one video. So I encourage you to go back and watch it all because it'll make more sense to you what I'm saying now. Anyways, in my remote viewing session, and then I'll get to my dream and then today's remote viewing and then the map on the escape route that I believe the kidnappers took. In the remote viewing session that I did yesterday, and I just again asked, take me where I need to go this morning, and I was taken to the same scene. Okay, so apparently this needs to go out, or at least my guides want it to go out. So I was taken to a scene where they were inside the home. And I had said earlier on that I believed that this person at the front door had a laptop in their knapsack. And then I later sort of questioned, was it a literal laptop or was it symbolic for what the purpose of going in there was for Nancy that night? Because something went wrong, in my opinion, and the original purpose for going in failed. And so plan B was enacted. So let's go back and I'll tell you what I saw that night. In the remote viewing session I did yesterday for you, just before my video went out and the audio was messed up. And again, this morning, I was brought to that same scene. So what I saw was Nancy sitting in her wheelchair. And I didn't, interestingly enough, and I have a habit of doing that, is not giving all the details because I want to give it to you before it leaves my mind. And sometimes I forget some of the details. So she was sitting when they went in to get something from her. I do believe she was sitting in her wheelchair. And in my dream last night, in my vision, I was shown a clip of Nancy with her hands taped in duct tape, the gray duct tape, hands tied, Now, this is later on the vision I was given because her hands are dirty, 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 and her wrists are still taped, and she's sitting in a wheelchair. She does have blood under one of her, I think it's her thumb, considerable blood, and a lot of dirt, which makes sense because the location I gave the FBI on where she was being held was a crawl space where there would be a lot of dirt. Okay. So that came through in my dream, the vision last night of her. That's all I got, was that she was being held. She was sitting in a wheelchair. Hands were duct taped. She had layers of dirty cloths on her, like blankets. And she had blood on her thumbnail, like under her fingernail. I do think when she ripped off the mask, which I told you about in a prior remote viewing session, that she maybe scraped somebody and did get a bit of their blood under her fingernail, which is extremely interesting because I didn't know that until my dream last night. And if I've had these dreams my whole life. I get visions of crime scenes that when I was a child would show up in the news. Long story, you got to go back and watch my other videos to get the history on that. So going back to my remote viewing yesterday, I had said in the video that you couldn't hear, my apologies again, that I see her, they go in there with the intention of, yes, getting Bitcoin. I know it sounds kind of crazy, y'all, but TMZ was not able to track down that Bitcoin account, right? They tried. Hence why the ransom money didn't go in, because there was no proof of life and they couldn't track them down like they thought they could. There was an element of sophistication here in this plan for the Bitcoin. Let me keep going. I told the FBI, and y'all hear before, that I believe that the ransom notes, well, I knew they were being debated. This whole crime, let's just start with this, was staged. This kidnapping, the buffling idiot on the video, because when they went in there, I do believe there was a request to transfer money. I do believe that that laptop now, my original hit, was literally physically in a knapsack where there was a request made by Nancy to transfer her funds to a Bitcoin account. And yesterday I heard, while I was recounting this to you, 4 million specifically. Now, what I heard happened, two things went wrong. Not one, two things went wrong. The people that were sent in there to retrieve the 4 million rather in Bitcoin were under the impression that that money was in Nancy's bank account or somewhere they could access it quickly with her at gunpoint, if you will. What they were not aware of was Nancy had already transferred that money somewhere else, unbeknownst to them. I'm going to repeat that. They go in. I know it sounds unusual, but we've already heard from every law enforcement and criminal profiler expert on this case that this case is unique, hands down, from any other case we've seen. They go in there with the intention, with a laptop, to have Nancy transfer 4 million, is what I heard yesterday, is what they believed she had available to her in her bank account. And that was no longer available. Nancy had already removed the funds and transferred them elsewhere. Plan gone awry. Boom. Now add to it another remote viewing session that I gave you where I saw Nancy recognizing one of the perps, ripping the mask off and identifying one of them. Plan B enactment. Now we have an effing problem. One, we don't have the money. And two, she knows these perps, or one of them at the very least. Now we have to stage what looks like something that it's not. And I believe that I am the very first person to have been saying this all along. Now we hear Dr. Gary Mercado, Dr. Ann Burgess, in Brian Enton's special that he released last night, and in other interviews, now talking about the possibility of it being staged. I've been saying that all along. Okay. What happened in my remote viewing session yesterday was I see the two perps in my remote viewing session. I see two perps jumping over that back fence. They go into the house with the intentions, like I said, of getting something from Nancy. They're not able to get that from Nancy because she's transferred the funds. And I see before they call in the idiot on the front camera, I see her sitting in a chair, and I felt yesterday, I get all the clairs, I feel just like with Lynette Hooker, before we got the evidence of the flare going off at 8 o'clock off the boat, I said they were on the soulmate, and I could feel Brian unaliving and choking out Lynette. Okay. Well, yesterday when I was tapping in, I could feel pain. There was a jabbing from these perps as a threat to Nancy in her abdomen, right down on her right-hand side by her pelvic, your hip bone in the front. Just above that, there's like jabbing of her cane in her stomach because she's not giving them what they came for. I don't know if that would have caused internal bleeding, but I still think the blood was planted. So now I'm after that immediate seeing that unfoldment, I see conversations going on. And when I remote viewed today, that's the part I was taken to. Conversations with the four perps inside the home during that 40 minutes on what the F are we going to do with her? Because she has recognized somebody. And now we cannot relieve her and just leave her here. We have an effing problem. And I had said before that I felt there was debates and argument on whether or not to release the ransom notes. But they were an effort to get the money that they came there for, because I believe there was debts owed to the person that planned this out. And the intent was to recoup the money owed to them by somebody close to Nancy. And it went wrong. And I believe that person sent the bubbling idiot who was high with the gun and that whole shit show out front because the plan went wrong. And he said, "You're the effing idiot that's going to show your face on the camera. I ain't fucking going down for this." And that person was high, yada, yada, yada. Okay. That's just what I'm getting. Does it have to be 100% real? No. Or accurate, rather? No. But I believe a good portion of it to be accurate based on the other things that I have been telling you. And while we don't have the outcome or the facts of this case yet, I just want to remind you that I've been working on the Lynette Hooker thing, and I said things that we didn't even know. Yes, they made it back to soulmate. Yes, there was a struggle there. And then Ashley now came forward with some evidence to show that. So I just want to remind you, this isn't my first rodeo. And I have said before, like in Sebastian Rogers, I don't have a freaking clue what's going down. I'm so confused. I've been honest when I didn't know or feel that I knew. And in this case, I really feel that I'm correct here. The other thing that's really important to note is that I do believe they took Nancy out in her wheelchair. Now, whether it was hers inside the home or not, I can't say, because I also tapped into another session where I was showing you on a map and I got a hit of Oro Valley Hospital. I do believe there to have been a connection there. And I do believe that they had a certain amount of meds and a certain amount of access to things to keep Nancy alive for a while, because the full intent was in sending those ransom notes to TMZ to get funds, the ones they went there for, from Savannah. Now, what do I want to say next? Because there was the people that were involved had zero intentions of unaliving Nancy or getting caught. And like I said, this inside knowledge had the understanding or the impression that there was access to funds that they wanted or needed. But what I was saying yesterday was, I believe Nancy moved those funds, and I believe she had a conversation with Savannah about moving those funds, who also had a conversation with Cameron prior to this going down about her moving her funds around. I also think that a lot of what the discussion was in that remote viewing that I got today was with Nancy because she had identified one of the perps. And so I believe there was the initial thought that we would keep her alive, get this money with the ransom note, which I understand. Everybody says, well, why wait 3 days? Y'all, TMZ said that that note came in on the Monday. She was taken on the Sunday. It wasn't days later. Okay. That's my understanding. Um, but I think because they used some creative genius with a younger gentleman involved here, the son of the father, that there was, the chefs and the waiter, the men that kidnapped her, the two men I see going over the fence. There was not the initial plan to take her out. There was we need our money. And I believe the son was pretty versed in IT, prolific, like quite anapt at this Bitcoin thing and not being traced. And so while we all say it's so stupid they went that way, well, that's what kept them from being caught. What they didn't anticipate was they couldn't show Nancy's proof of life because they couldn't return her no matter what happened, because she took the mask off and knew the perp. So while they didn't think out the following days, they definitely had to enact a plan B now quickly, which is what we see going down on the camera. You're the idiot going out on the front. You're the one that gave me the wrong information. Your relation to this woman, you should have known. You didn't know that she didn't have the money anymore, and now you're the bumbling fucking idiot that's gonna go on the camera and get caught for the world to see, because I ain't going fucking down for this, and yeah, we're gonna try to get some ransom still, hence the notes, but that didn't happen, and so eventually Nancy would have to be left to die. That's just what I think went down, okay? I also wanna get into now the root, because I have my Reiki level 7 practitioner. Reiki Masters is a level 4. A lot of people don't realize there's 21 levels. And so I can feel energy. And in this specific location, I gave the FBI. Yes, I did submit a report to the FBI. You can see if I can pull up the photo to prove to you that. Okay, it took me a while to go back. I didn't think it was that long ago, but let me just pull up this, and let me zoom in a little bit. I've got a few pictures here of my reporting to the FBI. I reported it on behalf of myself. Whoops, wrong one, wrong way. And yes, it was successfully submitted. And you get this tips FBI government that you have to say, I agree to, which I did before submitting. And then this privacy statement. Um, these were submitted. I also got a text message on my cell phone that came back. Let me just confirm that. I got a text message from a phone number February 24th at 1:12 p.m. Eastern is when this was submitted, that said, thank you for contacting the FBI's National Threats Operations Center. Please click the link below to submit your tip. So that's about the time I started to enter in the tip, okay? So there you go. It was February 24th at 1:12 p.m. Easternish, and I don't think the FBI are taking me seriously. I don't think they take psychics seriously, hence why, I've been releasing this information now, but also why what I do and others that do this, it's extremely hard to feel the emotions, feel the pain of the victim, emotionally go through it all, and then, try to do your best to get information that might be valuable, but, police aren't really interested in following psychic leads. And we've heard that over and over and over again by Bob Kruger, who was an active until recently retired sheriff in that department, or not sheriff, rather, sergeant, I believe. And so, yeah, I mean, I get it. They can't go to a judge and say, hey, a psychic told us this. So, like, they need real data, which I gave, but, and the address that I gave, what I used was my hands. So I hold a level 7 Reiki practitioner certification. Most people think ends up 4, which is masters. There's 21 levels. And when I put my palms on the map which I'm going to show you for the escape route that I logged down and wrote down on what they actually took to get out of there. What happens is, let me pull up the Google Maps and I'll show you. My hand gets, when I zone into Nancy's address and I say, not to the benefit of my ego, I get my hands sort of warmed up to feel the energy. I literally can feel resistance when I try to move one way, and then an easy flowing movement when I try to move in the right way. And that's how I was able to get this route. Let me show you what I mean. So I've got the blue marker on Nancy's home, and I use my hands. And yesterday in the video, I showed you another clip because I just happened one day when I was waiting for another podcast to start, I just happened to go on and see Exploring with Jim, and I'd never followed him before. And lo and behold, Jim was pulling up at that moment to a home near Nancy's home where we think the police feel the escape route was, because that's the area with which they were traveling down. And it so happens that the route that I have pinned here for you, which I'll go through with you now, goes in the same direction and down where the one glove, I believe, that was retrieved to be possibly linked. We're not really sure on the glove situation, but it does go down by that route. Anyways, I one day I go to show up to watch. I'm waiting for a podcast to start, and I had like a half an hour, and I just show up on Jim's live stream, and lo and behold, isn't Jim exactly, which happens to me all the time, synchronicity. At the moment I show up, Jim's turning into a construction site near Nancy's. And I thought at first it was one that was across the street, but no, it was down the road. And in that video, he goes up to a bin, and like the dumpster bin, and I have a massive headache and I feel like somebody was sick. So I do believe immediately after removing Nancy from the home, they did make a quick turn into a road that had like a laneway rather that had a house on it that was under construction, and somebody threw up. I don't believe it was like chunky food, but like a liquid, sick to their stomach after what had just transpired. And I have this massive headache. So let me show you the route that I believe they went down now using my hands. I'm going to bring you yesterday's clip on, but I'm going to take the audio off so you don't have to hear all the chaos in the background with the audio going weird. Sorry again about that. Hopefully this one, because I have no way of checking it while I'm recording. I'll check it before I upload, but I'd never had that before. So was not expecting that problem yesterday, but I'll check it again today before uploading. Let's go and I'll show you the route that I found. And what I said I would do next was go back through this route with you and go through all the points to see if there's major cameras, if I get any information from this route. I'm still not feeling 100%. I have to be honest with you. So it's taking me a lot longer to recover from this than I expected from my couple of visits at the hospital recently. So I will go through when I'm feeling a little better through the route rather, and the points along the route with you to see if I get any hits like I did in the past when I was going towards Oracle. And I have to just say, I believe they went north into Oracle, and I gave the police a specific address in Oracle that the astrology backed up 100%, the forensic astrology, which is so weird and interesting at the same time. Nonetheless, I'm not going to give you that exact address for safety reasons, but I did, when I was up that way before, get a hit on a Hampton Inn Suites there, right off Oracle Highway 77 and the Oro Valley Hospital, where I believe one of these perps has a connection and possibly either took that wheelchair they took Nancy with if it wasn't missing from her home, and or some prescription meds, because like I said, the plan was not to unalive Nancy, in my opinion, just my opinion. So let's show you the route. I'll tell it to you first, and then I'll show it to you. So Nancy lived on North Camino West, or North Camino Escalante. They go west, left, leaving Nancy's. I think they go up on a road. It might have been Serrata, Nepal. I'm not sure. It might have been closer down, but they go in there, and that's where there's the throw up in the bin, and they pause. And I had heard that they took Nancy there, and I was like, what? Thinking, oh, did they bury her there? Am I completely wrong with my Oracle address? But no, there was a massive headache, a throw up. And when they leave there, they go north on Camino Merval, and then they go left on East Camino La Zorella. Then they go right east on Orange Grove Road, and then left onto East Skyline Drive, which turns into East Ina or Ina Road, East Ina Road, and then they go north 77 Oracle Road, Highway 77 North Oracle, to the address that I gave the police, which is not right off the highway. There's a few little, turns and whatnot. I'll show you that now on the map. And I want to show you, because yesterday I compared it to Annie's map. How did Annie know? Let's get into that clip too in a minute. Okay, so this was the video that I was showing you yesterday, and a prior clip where I came upon exploring with Jim in this property he shows up to. And I get this unexpected nausea, headache, and he goes up to this bin, and wow, that's when I feel so sick, and I think somebody may have thrown up in here. And then after I posted this video, a lot of you commented that there was a cane inside there. I wasn't aware of that, but yeah, apparently y'all thought there was a cane in there. Okay, I'm going to pull up the Google map now to show you the highlighted route that I believe they took. Now I'll go through and highlight it more specifically again for you here in a second. But it's really interesting because at the very beginning of the case, I had said I felt like there was like they went around the mountain, like they had to go down and around the mountain. And that's exactly what I believe happened. So let me zoom in on the map and show you what I just read to you on the map. Okay, I'm going to go through the map with you where I believe I'm going to move myself to the bottom, some small. I'm going to start it all over again because it didn't record like it was supposed to yesterday. A lot of technical issues yesterday. So they went down. This is Nancy's home here in this blue marker. I believe they went left here. They went down. Now, one of the roads that they may have turned up on, I can't be certain, where there was abandoned a house under construction to where that person was sick, might have been a left here in around this cul-de-sac here, but I'm not 100% certain, okay? In around, let me just, in around here. It might have been in here, but I'm not 100% certain. But what I do know is that they left Nancy's home and went this way. Okay, they left west on her street, which is North Camino Escalante. Okay, and I can show you the map version so you can see the street names. And then they went here, I believe, whoops, up North Camino, Miraval, Miraval. Okay, North Camino, Miraval. They go up this way. Again, I've told you how I've come to this conclusion using my hands as like a dowsing rod, which a lot of forensic astrologers and psychic mediums would use pendulums for. And then they go left on East Camino. They go around here. So like I said, the next time we're going to zoom in here on this map and I'm going to go and see with you live if there's any cameras, if there's anything that I get as far as markers on the way. They go left here on East Camino Zarella. Here, East Camino Zarella. Let's just keep moving this down here, please. Okay. East Camino Zarella, where then they go right east on Orange County Grove Road, East Orange. Come on, I need this to move down all the way to here to this street Skyline, which is this two-way street where they found the glove and where JLR showed us this glove that they were focused on. And then they take East Skyline down. Let's just get these markers back on. They take East Skyline down. Whoops. East Skyline. Okay, and it goes a long way. Goes a long way. And they keep going. East Skyline. And then as you can see, it turns on to East Ina or Ina, I-N-A Road. Okay, they keep going. They keep going. Now, I just want to show you. Okay, they keep going. Until they hit Come on. I'm just going to remove that because I want us to zoom in. Come on. Sorry, y'all. Let me fix it because it's gotten a little wonky on me here. Okay. I got it back up where we can see. So they keep going down until it turns into West Ina Road, because it goes from east to west, where they go north on Oracle. North on Oracle. Now, that looks nothing like the map Annie Guthrie gave, which I had first reported on, but it was reported through JLR, and I wasn't 100% certain, not to discount JLR, but I wanted to hear from another source, if you would. And Nancy Grace showed us this the other day. Listen in, and let's see how it compares to the map I gave you. In this video that Nancy Grace did, she also told us that apparently there's new eyes looking at all the tips and information that has come into the Nancy Guthrie case. And there was an article that came out yesterday, I'll read to you after I show this, from a statement from the sheriff's department, not Nanos himself, but the department. But listen here first.
Also learned that fresh eyes are reviewing the evidence from the feds. Not only is that video being reviewed as we go to air, we learn that Annie Guthrie herself provided the route she believes the killer used that night. Let's take a look at it. Straight out to Dave Matt, Crime Stories investigative reporter. What is this? Where did it come from?
This actually, Annie Guthrie was in a group chat online with neighbors and sent this map to them at the beginning of the investigation, Nancy. This was put out there early, hoping that somebody might have seen something or had video along. You see the blue map line there, that somebody along that way could look through their video. I mean, this is really an incredible source of information from Annie Guthrie coming up with what she thought was the plan, or the route rather, taken by on the way home. So
interesting. Now, she gave this to police. How did she come up with that plan? How did she come up with the plan? It's so weird. How did Annie figure that was the route that was taken? What I can tell you is none of the street names that I gave you are on that map. None of them. Let me put it back up for you. None of them. Let me make myself a little bigger. Okay, you can see North Genematos Drive. I see North First. I see the nail salon on Green Toes North. I see Roller Coaster Road. I see Rudisill Road. I don't see any of the names that I have given you on my map that I believe was the route out. Now, next video, like I said, I'm going to go through, I'm going to try to do some more remote viewings, and I'm going to update you on the map and that I believe they took, and see how many cameras might be there that we can notice, how many major businesses might have been able to capture them, and why is it that we still don't have, do the police have videos? Of course, they have way more than we know about. But y'all, not as much as we would have hoped. And it's not like this is a cold case per se, but even by their own statement they just released, which I'll read to you now, they really don't have a suspect, and they are begging and pleading for more tips from the public. Let me read to you what just came out from the Pima County Sheriff's Office by a spokesperson there, not Nanos himself. Okay, today again is Thursday, May 7th. I'm now at 9:51 a.m. as I'm recording this, and this was put out by the media, released May 5th at 10:32 a.m. So 2 days ago, almost to the minute. Nancy Guthrie update. Officials released a new statement about the case. Officials have come forward to reveal activity that is going on behind the scenes in the Nancy Guthrie case. Key points. 88-crime officials revealed that they received 360 new tips about the Nancy Guthrie case in the last month and over 3,000 in total. The FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Department have also received thousands of tips each. More than $1.2 million in reward money has been offered for the eligible tips that lead to the recovery of Nancy Guthrie or the capture of her abductor. As the world continues to watch for new information in the Nancy Guthrie case, much of the work that has been done is happening behind the scenes, as of course it should. Still, many people who are invested in the case undoubtedly want to know what's happening. Now, officials have released a statement providing the public with more information about the case. Officials released the statement on the public's ongoing role in the Nancy Guthrie case. KVOA News for Tucson has just reported on a statement about the Nancy Guthrie case from 88-crime officials. That is a tip line that operates in Tucson, Arizona, that works with law enforcement and the media to help the public anonymously provide information about crimes. According to the statement, 88-crime has received 360 new tips related to the Nancy Guthrie case over the last month and more than 3,000 in total. The number of tips 88-crime continues to receive is especially notable because it isn't the only option for the public to offer information related to the case. The public has also been told that they can call the FBI with information about the Guthrie case. Previously, it has been reported that the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Office have received thousands of tips. People with information about the case can call 1-800-CALL-FBI or contact 88-crime through its phone line or 88crime.org or the P3 Tips mobile app. Information that leads to the recovery of Nancy Guthrie or the capture of her abductors is still eligible for more than $1.2 million in reward money. And I think they believe that the porch guy or one of the accomplices will come forward. And I don't believe that will happen at this point, in my opinion. The facts that the tips related to the Nancy Guthrie case, well, let me just read the highlight first, the title of this section. What this means for the investigation is that the facts that the tips related to the Nancy Guthrie case continue to pour in may be promising for anyone hoping a break in the case will come. However, observers should temper their expectations about what 88-crime's statement could mean going forward. A report from the Associated Press on the number of tips has been received in the Guthrie case noted how important the information may become. The outlet quoted Robert Villasenor, a former Tucson police chief, to explain, in a situation like this, you really cannot do what's been done without tips and public input. They have processed the scene, but once that's done and exhausted, it's hard to move forward without additional information coming in. However, the report also highlighted the fact that most tips will be worthless to the investigation. Yes, that is probably how they have deemed my information. And what can you do? It's why what I do makes it so hard, because it's really emotionally tolling and to not be taken seriously, of course, because, you know, we're in a world at the moment where psychics aren't believed, despite evidence that the CIA has done a lot of remote viewing and trained their operatives to know how to use remote viewing. We're in the world where that just doesn't really fall into line, if you will, with police investigations. But the next video, as I said, I promised to do, I'm going to go through that map and see if I get any more hits or information on that escape route that they took Nancy on, that I believe they took Nancy on, as well as another remote viewing update. So thank you everybody for being here. Do all the YouTubey things. Thank you for all of you that hype and make beautiful, nice comments. Welcome to everybody new here, to those that have been with me from the beginning, and for those of you that have joined all along the journey. Love and light. Cheers.